Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the very first live stream. I'm gonna have to kind of play a little bit here just to make sure that I've got the audio working right and the video. There's a bit of a delay. I think that's built into the system. Can you guys let me know if you hear me, by the way? And I'm just looking over here at the list. Hello, Lydia Gastin from Greyton, South Africa. That's my wife. For those of you on the stream right now. Hey, Yanni. Jana Volterbeek is here. Yanni, nice to have you. And Ed8855 Duncan, hi. Can you guys hear me? Just do me a favor and let me know if you can hear me. Like I said, there's a bit of a delay, so as you're typing, we'll just keep an eye over here. But it's kind of fun to do this. I got to tell you, hey, Yanni. What a lot of work this was to put this together. The hours that I put in to figure out how to do a live stream is just ridiculous. But I think we got it going. So let me know what you can. Let me know if you can hear me. Maybe let me know. Give me a thumbs up there. Yes, fantastic. Okay, that's great. This is kind of fun. I can't tell you how excited I am to do this. Now I had to rearrange my office. I had to buy some technologies, some things that allow my camera to stream, etc. But it's a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that from time to time we can do some streams. I'd love to tell you some stories, maybe answer questions, have a good conversation. But the one thing I was not able to do for today is to get a continuous power supply. So right now I'm running a DSLR camera, and it is using battery power. So we're gonna go as long as the battery lasts. Unfortunately, I don't know. It doesn't give me an indication while I'm streaming if I have battery. I could turn on the information, but then it shows up on your screen, and that's kind of obnoxious. I'll show you real quick. You can see that. So I'm gonna just leave that off for now, but I give you an idea of like how much battery information, etc. We'll just kind of keep an eye on it, and if it dies, it dies. So we'll just have some fun. Just some more hellos. Thank you for the great quality comment. Your name is in Korean, I believe. So unfortunately, I can't respond to call you by name. Hi Dang, thanks for joining. So what do we got? We got a handful of people. Looks like about 13 folks. I'm really excited to do this. Let me ask a question. When you guys are participating in a live stream, what kind of do you like to get out of the live stream? What is it that you want from a live stream? I got to get rid of this data here. Hold on a second. What did I do? There we go. Okay, now we got rid of all the extra information on the screen. So when you jump in on live streams, what do you like to get out of a live stream? Hey there, G Ramana Kumar Kushik. Hey bro, back to you, man. What's going on? Thanks for joining us today. What do you guys like to get out of a live stream? I thought today I could tell a little story, kind of background of my agency life. I thought we could talk about that. We could just kind of goof around a little bit and do a quick live stream just for the fun of it. But I thought I could tell a story today about how I got into the agency world, and then eventually how I got out of my agency and became a full-time independent consultant. I thought that might be kind of cool. Let's see. So in response to my question, so Yanni says he's looking for Q&A. I love that. That's a great idea. And I thought we could do a little bit of that today. G. Romana says he's planning on making his own startup. That's pretty cool. And Haidang says spontaneous answer when questions are asked. Why don't we do that this time? Rather than me tell the story of my agency background, let's just do a little bit of Q&A. I figured you might want to do a little Q&A, and I thought that might be fun. Why don't we just jump into it? Who knows how long I'll have battery life? I'm guessing I get a good 20, 30 minutes at least. So why don't we just jump in and start doing some Q&A? So who wants to throw me a question? Oh, real quick. Kudu Essen, greetings of Tesla South Udo from Essen, Germany. Greetings, thanks for joining us. Great to have you on board. Yanni says Tesla for the win. Yeah, and most of my audience found me because of Tesla. That was the Cybertruck video that I did. That thing got like 1,818,000 views. It still chugs along. It doesn't get the kind of traffic traction that it used to. But man, that thing kind of blew up. That was the funnest experience to have that video blow up, and to spend most of Thanksgiving and all through Christmas engaging comments, having fun with you guys, and watching the channel grow a little bit. Of course, you know, if I don't put out Tesla content, a lot of folks are not as interested. But I think one of the cool things about this community that seems to be forming around the channel, we have a lot of people that are interested in entrepreneurship, in creating wealth and doing their own thing. And so I think there's a great theme. Obviously, Tesla's fantastic. The whole auto world is fascinating to me. I love auto brands and some of the heritage auto racing, et cetera. But I think talking about entrepreneurship, wealth creation, independence, how to create wealth on your own without having to work as an employee for someone. Kind of a fun topic, and I think we can talk about some of those things as time goes on. Let's see, Toasted Tarantula. Yes, you found me that way. Yeah, a lot of folks found me via Tesla. Now, a lot of people are like, Mike, you owe Elon Musk a big thank you. But quite frankly, I think I helped sell some Cybertrucks. I think I helped push some pre-orders. People got in touch with like, I was not going to buy that truck until I saw your video. So I kind of feel like maybe Elon at least owes me flowers. You know, buy me a steak and a scotch. I don't want flowers. I'd take a Cybertruck as a thank you, but that might be a big ask. But I think I helped drive some revenue for Tesla. If you don't like the Cybertruck once you get it, it's not my fault. That's all on Elon. But I'll take some credit for helping drive at least a couple, 2-3 sales. Let's look who else is on here. Yeah, let's see. We got my little brother, Brian Gastin, watching me with my niece and mom. Hi, guys. And then early on, I said Lydia Gastin. She's in South Africa. That's my wife. She left me. She left me. She went to visit her family. She left me for a few weeks. She'll be back, but she's watching from South Africa. Let's see. Max Kaufman. Hey, Max. Do I own Tesla stock? Well, I can't kiss and tell. I'll tell you something. It's been tempting to buy more. It's been so volatile. There are days where it's starting to drop, then it just pops right back up again. I'm kind of riding it out. I'm not sure that the valuation is in line to like grab stock and buy right now. And no, I did not buy a ton of stock when it was cheap. Let's see here, River Massey. Hey, River, what's going on, my friend? I think we're going to be talking maybe in a week or so. That's cool. And then my buddy Pi ends with 0. I'm so glad you're here, dude. I say dude. I don't know. I'm assuming you're a dude. I'm glad you're here. Max Kaufman already said hello. Sharon. Hello, Sharon Heath. That's my sister-in-law. Hi, Sharon. She's also watching from South Africa. And there's Maya, my niece. So everybody, I've got my family. I've got my Tesla clan. It's pretty cool, guys. Thanks for joining me today. So let's jump into one of the questions. I'm just looking here. Does anybody have a question? I'm scanning, and I've got to get used to this kind of looking at the screen, scanning the comments, and then making sure to look back at the camera. So you have to forgive me if I'm struggling with that. You can look at me. Look how old I am. I mean, it's amazing. I can even use a cell phone at my advanced age. All right, Yanni says, watch Hyperchange TV on YouTube to learn more about Tesla future potential. Hyperchange TV. Man, the thing about Tesla, but there's something that I wish I could tell you. The Tesla video kind of created an opportunity for me to get more involved in Tesla, not with the mothership, but a sanctioned organization that's out of Tesla. I was invited to take some leadership with that group, and I was really flattered. The thing with Tesla, I kind of felt like, in life and in business, strategy is all about what you're going to say no to. It's choosing what you're not going to do so that you can focus on what you are going to do, because all of us have all kinds of things that we could do. And the Tesla thing is fascinating to me. I feel like if you were to choose, like someone in my position where you're creating content, you're consulting, you're strategic, if you were to say, look, I'm going to start doing more on Tesla, you could just get lost in Tesla. All you would be doing is Tesla and electric vehicles, AI, and the various things that Elon Musk is up to. And that's tempting. I mean, I know that I could chase that pathway and do a ton of content and build a brand, build even a business around that. But for me, my interests are broader. So I don't want to not do Tesla. I don't want to not talk about those kinds of things. But I just don't feel like I can go deep with it. And so I've had to kind of say, look, I'd love to, even with the algorithm, like for YouTube, if I continue to put all kinds of Tesla content out there, then I'm going to be on that roller coaster. I can't really get off. I've got to just keep going deep with that. Otherwise, the algorithm doesn't know what to do with my other kinds of content. So I hate to say it. Like, I'm not saying I'm not interested in Tesla, but just that it's hard for me to make that kind of a commitment and go deep down the Tesla rabbit hole. Now, that said, I'm looking forward to doing some more Tesla content, some more EV content, And in fact, I just interviewed a guy named William Sachidi on my podcast. He runs an organization called the Academy of Robotics in the United Kingdom, and they've got a project called Cargo. We did a podcast interview. It is essentially an automated AI-driven vehicle that delivers packages to your home and other places. Fascinating discussion, and I think we're going to do a follow-up video on his organization and this Cargo project. So I'm fascinated by this stuff, but just the Tesla thing, you can get sucked in and then just not get out. All right, let me take a look over here. Yanni says they've got Cybertruck orders for years to produce. Yeah, they're going to be doing that for a while. And River Massey, you're right. Should have had a referral code. I absolutely should have. I should have gotten affiliate dollars off of this, but that's okay. I'm grateful just for the audience that video tried to help me build. Pions with 0. Nice to meet the family. Yeah, they're a good family. I married well. I've got a really fantastic wife and great in-laws. Unfortunately, they're in a different hemisphere than us, so we don't get to see them as often. That's why my wife is there for a few weeks. In fact, my sister-in-law, Sharon, is getting married in a couple of weeks. So now that's public for everybody on YouTube. So congratulations, Sharon. I wish I could be there with you guys. John King, how you feel about the economy? We are hitting the end of bull market. John's wondering, do I think we're hitting the end of the bull market? That's a really tough one. You know, when we look back at 2008, the big crash, I was running an agency at the time. It was brutal, you know, and before that hit, a lot of people thought it was a surprise, but for at least a year or two, I remember reading in The Economist, they were talking about like, hey, there's a credit crisis coming, there's a crisis coming. There was talk, and they had fundamental reasons why that was going to happen. What I'm not seeing this time around, and I'm not a financial expert or an economist by any stretch, but what I'm not seeing is people pointing out specific fundamentals. Now they're there. There are problems, obviously, in the market. There's a lot of, not inflation for consumers, but just the market seems inflated, very frothy, and you kind of wonder, like, where does this thing stop? But where I'm going with this is to say, I'm not really convinced that I understand the dynamics driving the market. I don't know if we're at the end of a bull run. I don't know if it's going to keep going. I think the elections are going to have an impact, at least for us. And, you know, it's interesting. There's some indicators like manufacturing is down in the U.S. and has been for a while. And yet, on the other hand, you have consumer confidence and consumer spending up. Incomes are up. Unemployment's way down, historic low in the U.S. So kind of curious. The trade war is interesting. And the trade war is not just with China. You know, if you like to buy French wines, if you live in the U.S., you're paying a premium now. There's some things that are going on between Europe and the U.S. as well. So I don't know, John, it's above my pay grade, but I am optimistic still about the economy. I don't know that we're going to go through the same kind of crash that we did before. Maybe things tighten up, maybe they slow down, but I don't know that we're going to go through the big correction like we did before. Let me just take a quick look here, see what else we got. You could use a referral code to order Cybertruck through River Massey. Try to use it, my friends, but not. Okay, Yanni, what agencies did you work at? So Yanni, I own my own agency. I never worked at any big agencies that you would know of. I had and we'll talk about this sometime. My career was in sales and marketing. I worked for Honeywell. I worked for a national publisher. I worked for a handful of folks doing sales and marketing related work. When I was in college, I always dreamed of having my own agency, and this agency popped up. It was a regional agency. We did a bunch of work for Fortune 100, Fortune 50 companies, branding, packaging, etc. And I had an opportunity to acquire that group and then run. It was a design group more than a traditional ad agency. And I owned and ran that for about 15 years. I shut that down about 3.5 years ago. And we'll talk about that at some point. I'll go deeper into that. Let's see. Vivek Kumar, hello from India. Hello, my friend from upstate New York. Glad to have you on. Devil Logerio, thanks for live stream. It's my pleasure. Thanks for being here. I'm glad you're here. Pions with 0, they're odd. How do you discount rate capitalize to get the valuation against market values? So I don't know if I get into a Tesla. Yeah, I struggle with that. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for Tesla. I think Tesla brings a lot of hope, a lot of energy to the market. I think what they're doing is great. I'm not a Tesla hater. I'm not a cynic or a negative about Tesla. But on the other hand, I don't know how the valuation lines up with the actual company. And I think at some point, you've got to kind of come to terms with what's really there and what they're really shipping. I think they're doing something amazing. I'm not saying it's all smoke and mirrors, but on the other hand, the valuation is not clear to me. And I'm not sure what drives it. It's not an obvious it's just the ratios aren't obvious to me. And again, I'm not a big investor, so I'm not an expert, but I kind of question a little bit about them when it comes to their stock and their valuation. Yanni Volterbiek, am I saying that right, Yanni? Cool, very interested in the cargo story. The cargo story. Cargo story. Did I just talk about cargo? I mean, I might be missing something, but that's okay. Congrats. Let's see. Super Bowl, brand winners, losers. This is Oreo07. Welcome. How do you view Kraft Heinz brand? Oh gosh. So here's the thing. This is I'm ashamed to admit it. I did not watch all the Super Bowl ads. And this is a tough one for me. I am pretty sure that there was some great stuff on there. I saw some of the ads after the fact. I've gotten so frustrated with typical advertising these days. And I'm a marketing strategist. I'm a branding guy. Like I'm paid to pay attention to these things. But I've gotten so frustrated that the brands have taken it upon themselves to preach at us. It's like we get the athletes preaching at us, various taking self-righteous. I call them self-righteous. Maybe you call them thoughtful, but that's cool. You should do a live stream if you disagree with me and call me out. But everybody's preaching at us about morals and ethics, and meanwhile, their lives don't line up. The whole Gillette thing, like when that blew up, Gillette historically has used women and sexism in its advertising to sell razors. Its women are underpaid historically. They've had all kinds of issues. I really didn't appreciate Gillette coming out and telling me how to treat women, especially a husband and a father of a daughter. It's like, look, I think I know what matters and what doesn't. So I kind of pass on some of these things. Maybe I should be more involved. It doesn't impact my work with my clients as much. And so I kind of call BS on these things and don't often pay attention like I should. Let's see here. My wife is texting me. Oh, Cargo. I'm sorry. Yes, Cargo is the British AI company. Thank you, Lydia. The reason I kind of flaked on that, it's K-A-R-G-O, Cargo. And it's a pretty cool little company. So that podcast is going to come out in a couple weeks. And then we'll be doing a video. I'm going to kind of go a little deeper and do a video essay on the work that William and his team are doing. Thank you. All right, let me just keep going here. Let's see. How do you look back on Honeywell? I work there right now. Well, look at that. I worked for a division, a company that Honeywell had acquired. I was in my 20s at the time. The company treated me well. I found it a little frustrating. I had an opportunity to move to Boston and join the main group there. I forget where they are actually in Massachusetts, but good company. The division I worked for, it was a small business that was acquired by them. I worked for the business before Honeywell bought them. They moved us around a little bit, gave us a chance to do different projects as a young guy and get some good experience. I don't really have a big opinion on the company. I haven't engaged with them. It's been probably 30 years since I've done anything with Honeywell, quite frankly, so I'm a little out of touch there. Let's see what else we got. River Massey. In your opinion, Tesla's valuation isn't measurable until they have a direct competitor. That's a really good point, River. Let's see. Yeah, Yanni, thank you. Lydia helped me figure that out. The Noir channel. Hey, how's it going, my friend? I just watched your video today on Rita Hayworth. I forget the name of the movie, but welcome aboard. I'm glad to see you. And yeah, Yanni, thanks, Mike's wife. So what other questions you guys have? And the other thing I guess I should ask, is my volume too high? I can crank that back a little bit if that stream is hitting you a little loud. I had a little trouble trying to get that dialed in just so. Let's see what we got here. They did a big brand revamp. This is Pines with Zero talking about Honeywell. Could be interesting to form a brand marketer's perspective. Yes, the Noir channel, the lady from Shanghai. That's right. Oh, thank you, ED8855 Duncan. The volume is good. I'm glad to hear that. So yeah, what is your feeling on the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl ads? And I have to say, like, I have been pretty religious in watching it. I've been pretty good at watching the ads. I've commentated on the ads before. Maybe it's a factor of me just getting older and just not giving a rip at times. But I sat there. It was Super Bowl Sunday. And I had the option, I forget what I ended up doing. I had the option of watching a movie. I don't remember what I was watching at the time, or watching the Super Bowl. And I'm like, I'm not watching the Super Bowl. And the thing is, it sounded like it was a great game too. By the way, I'm more of a soccer fan. I'm a Barcelona fan, and I like to watch European football, or soccer, as it were. I think Americans like to call it European kickball, which is a way to just kind of make fun of it as being not a real sport. But I love watching soccer. It's a lot of fun, and love watching Spanish soccer, especially. Barcelona is just fantastic. But that's me. They're not fantastic this year. They've been struggling this year, but that's me. Hey, what's up, Kushdeep Bajwa? Kushdeep Bajwa from India. Welcome. Glad to have you on board. So guys, he's asking, just wanted to say, love the vibe in your videos. Keep it up. It inspires people like me for sure to get into creative content. And then John King says, what I liked about your Hit Tesla video is not that I am into Tesla that much. Rather, you explained why it was able to get me excited in the Cybertruck video. It is the marketing strategy you explained. Yeah, thank you, John. I like looking at things through that lens. I love kind of viewing the world through the lens of strategy, through branding, through marketing, through entrepreneurship, wealth creation. And like if you look at unboxing videos, if you look at like Marquez Brownlee did a fantastic video on the Cybertruck. But as I was watching that, I realized like there are technical specs, there are the form factors and the fit and feel and finish. Those things are important. But I just felt like there's this whole nother perspective that nobody's talking about. And it's interesting, people still don't seem to get it. I get trolls still on that video, accusing me of loving the design or just loving Tesla, or and they're like, how could you say that's beautiful? And I do think that there's something beautiful about that design, but that's more from a designer perspective. I don't think it's aesthetically for everyone. But my point in that whole video, and I think you folks here understand this, is that it's just so in your face, you can't ignore it. I wasn't saying that it's the best thing ever. I think it was genius because it's so different. And that's a marketing secret. Like, not always just to be different for different sake, but when you take a survey of the competitive landscape and you see how everyone is presenting their product or their service, you look for gaps or opportunities to say, look, if everybody's going to zig, let's find a way to zag. And I think that Elon and team found a way to do that that's meaningful. It wasn't just kind of a stunt. A lot of people are accusing it of being a stunt that'll never ship. I believe it's going to ship. I think that they mean it. Yeah, the design might have to modify a little bit to be street legal, but they've been able to figure out a way to just innovate and grab your attention visually that you can't ignore it. And I just think that that's genius, because the fact is everybody's still talking about Cybertruck. The Ford F-150 guys who hate it are still commenting about it, and they're telling me what an idiot I am and everybody else is to love it. Well, that's marketing. The fact that they're talking about it means that Tesla's winning. Every product isn't for everybody, and Elon doesn't need the whole world driving his trucks to be successful, obviously. So that's that. Let's see what else we got here going. Yeah, Pines with Zero. It's nice to know hand ag memes have a kickball counterpart. That's right. That's right. No doubt. Yanni of Altobiek. I'm Dutch and Feyenoord, Rotterdam fan. Awesome. Yeah. The Dutch are fantastic soccer players. And in fact, the World Series where I kind of got, the World Cup where I got drawn into soccer was Spain versus the Dutch, that final match. And I apologize, I'm just to say this, but Iniesta, when he scored that, it's just a beautiful, beautiful man. It's just an amazing thing to watch soccer. And in the Dutch, wow, so physical, so aggressive. And the Spaniards were tiny compared to you guys. I didn't think that the Spanish had a chance, but they pulled it off. The Dutch have had their share of wins as well. Let's see. I'm still young. Yes, I am. Let's see. So when you were young, did you know what you wanted to do? So I'll say this. I think when I was young, a few things. In college, I kind of thought I wanted to have an ad agency. This is back in the 80s. And I thought I wanted to have a red convertible. Those were the, and a hot wife. So I got the agency and the hot wife. I really wanted to have an agency. I knew that I was entrepreneurial even as a kid. I loved earning money. I loved kind of, I knew in school, like I love learning and I like academic pursuits, but I did not like school. I found school very constricting. I found it very limiting, frustrating. And so, yes, I kind of knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew that I wanted to be able to do something in the communication design field. I was always fascinated by things like commercial printing and graphic design, pre-digital. Then when digital came out, desktop publishing, I loved writing and communicating and public speaking. So I kind of had some broad strokes that I knew about, and I knew I didn't want to work for anybody. Now, I did work for people for a lot of my career as a young guy. I had a young family to feed, and I had a bunch of things that I tried out that never really went that well. I've had my handful of failures, but yeah, so I kind of had an idea. But if you were to tell me now, if you were to tell me what I'm doing now, 30, 40 years ago, I'm 53 right now as of yesterday. Yesterday was my birthday. If you would have told me that I would be an independent consultant, that I would be doing marketing and branding work and strategy, working with privately owned companies, that I would be creating content, I don't know that I would have been bowled over. I think I would have been excited about it, and I think it just would have helped me maybe focus in. When I was young, I probably wasn't wise enough to understand what it looked like day to day. I just knew that I wanted to be free, I wanted to be entrepreneurial, and I wanted to be materially successful. That's just something that I wanted as a kid. Thank you for the question. So let's see here. I feel like I should do a battery check in a second here, but Hai Dang says beauty is truly in the eye of the beholder. My wife gives me a little kissy face. So let's see. Yanni says, break a leg FPV. Do you fly quadcopters? And what do you think about the FAA? I do not fly quadcopters. In fact, I did a couple years ago rack up some hours on a private pilot's license. I was flying a Cessna, and from the 1970s, it was like flying a tractor. It was a great little thing. I probably put in about 15 hours logged. Did a bunch of landings, touch and goes, takeoffs, etc. Just logged some hours. I really enjoyed it, but I found it a little bit stressful. So, in the fact that I'm not a math guy, I'm a marketing guy, I'm a branding guy. I can do math, but you got to do a little engineering when you're a few thousand feet in the air in a little tractor. And I enjoyed it, but I found it a little stressful and decided, you know what, I don't have the time to do this, and a motorcycle and cars and all the other things that I enjoy. Now, the FAA, I understand the concern. The FAA is trying to control the airspace. I mean, think about how dangerous some of these drones can be to other things that are flying around, and you can get a drone going pretty high. Now, the thing with anything is, if we as a society, if we as a community can learn to regulate and control ourselves, then we don't need an outside regulator to control us. But like when you drive down the street, people are running red lights all the time. They're looking at their cell phone and texting while they're driving all the time. And I think when you're talking about aircraft and things in the air and people's public physical safety, pilots, etc., I think we need somebody kind of regulating. Are they getting it right? No, I don't think so. Are they trying to find a balance? I think that's going to be a back and forth. I don't think we're there yet. But as far as being able to fly drones and to do video as content creators, I wish the FAA would be a little bit more dynamic and intelligent. I know Canada's gotten really tough on all this stuff, but I understand the problem that they're trying to solve, and I think it's going to take iterations. It's not going to happen right away and land where we want it to or need it to. Let's see. Nora Channel, well, I do hate the design of the Cybertruck myself, but I have to admit that from a marketing perspective, it's a phenomenal success. See, that's right. Now, see, you're very much into the kind of 20s, 30s whole noir aesthetic. You probably need some Art Deco style vehicle to drive around. I don't know what that would be, but if you could find something for the 20s to knock around, then I bet that'd be pretty hot for you. All right, Kushdeep would like to know how you would rank these 3 companies for their marketing ability: Nike, Apple, Tesla. Oh my gosh, how do you rank those 3? I have to say, wow, how do you rank those 3? And these things kind of change. I don't know if you can do a 1, 2, 3, because I feel like each one of those has an area that it really excels in. If I look at Tesla, like they get so much publicity for nothing. I mean, I'd love to see what Tesla's marketing budget is. I bet you it's tiny compared to other companies its size. So I think Tesla's really clever on getting earned media. They're really good at getting publicity. They're really good at thinking of ways to market that blow people's minds. You know, you look at a Nike. Nike's a consumer good. They poured billions and billions and billions into their brand. I think they've done a good job with it. You know, the thing for Nike that comes to mind for me is they've got some other issues. I think their branding is fantastic. I think their concept, just do it, you know, in the way that they play the story, the Nike story out, fantastic. They've got some other issues. You know, there's some ethical concerns about how they treat some of their talent. You know, you get on a Nike team. You know, if you're a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant, I don't know if Kobe, you know, was a Nike guy. I can't remember. See, this tells you how much I know sports. But like those guys do great, the multi-billionaire superstars. But you get these athletes that get on Nike teams, they can be treated pretty poorly in some ways, or it can be brutal. And that world is a tough world. So anything against Nike, but I think its branding is fantastic. I think they know their market. I think they're very effective. And then, of course, there's Apple. And I think Apple's branding is fantastic. I think, again, they know the market. I think, and I mentioned this in another video, I think Apple's struggling a little bit because they haven't figured out what's next. Or if they have, I don't think it's clear to us. You know, they were able to do these huge innovations. That creates a certain expectation. And you know, there's almost this promise like Apple's always going to come out with these just world-changing pieces of technology. I think that gets harder and harder. I think they've got to kind of forage or foray out into other aspects, maybe home automation, some other kind of technology that they can integrate their platform with. So I think all three are fantastic for different reasons. I don't know if I could rank them 1, 2, 3. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Happy belated birthday. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so Pi ends with 0 says, Lydia reveal at 20K. 20K subs. We could do that. You know, Lydia does show up. I'll just, she's a gardener. I think one of my early videos, I was like walking around vlog style with the camera, and I may have caught her in the garden. Probably not at her best moment that she's working in the mud. I think it was early fall, and we were trying to get things wrapped up. But we'll do a Lydia reveal at 20K. I'll have her on. Maybe we'll do a Q&A. We can sit and do a husband and wife Q&A at 20,000. That would be a lot of fun. Let's see. And Lydia says game on, 20K. So that's cool. Let's see. I really, really like the Cybertruck design, says Pines with 0. Hope you guys won't stone me. It's a good design. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that my argument wasn't about the design being good. My argument was about the design being groundbreaking, and the marketing and branding and positioning groundbreaking. I still think it's good design. And people that go, oh, it's so simple. Oh, a 4-year-old could draw that truck. Obviously, really good design, very simple design, takes a lot of expertise. And I understand that a lot of the design is based on the manufacturing limitations of the steel and the way that they have to bend it versus press it. But you know, good design is deceivingly simple and often takes decades and decades of mastery to be able to produce. All right, Yanni. Oh, he's speaking to somebody else. Let's see what we got here. Yanni, forgot mine, so post it again. There's a book called Conversational Capital from ad agency Sid Lee. Cybertruck is pure conversational capital. Got the world talking. Agree 100%. Agree 100%. And Pines with 0 does. So let's see. River Massey, your thing's been helpful review. Do you feel that brands that utilize social movements or figures for advertisement bastardize the message of those movements? I'm going to show this. This is a good... hey, Ian Latarte, thank you for joining. Good to see you on board, my friend. So River's question, do you feel that brands that utilize social movements or figures for advertisements bastardize the message of those movements, figures? I do. I actually do. Now, here's the thing. I feel that way, but I'm looking at that from a metaphysical, philosophical, theological, sociological perspective. I think a lot of people just see that and don't think about it. Well, what I think ends up happening, there's nothing wrong with capitalism. There's nothing wrong with making money, in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with free markets. There's nothing wrong with you taking your ingenuity and some resources and creating something of value and selling it to me. That's not a dirty thing. That's not a bad thing. It's not an intrinsically wrong thing. Now, bad things can happen through that, but bad things can happen through things that we think are intrinsically good, like not-for-profits can do terrible things, terrible things. Because at the root, we have the human issue. Humans are flawed. We're beautiful creatures. We're capable of so many great things, but we're flawed. And so what I think happens often when you get these global corporations jumping in on a crusade, I think it damages the crusade because it creates a bit of cynicism. Like, we have to ask, why is Apple in this? Does Apple really care? If they cared that much, I want to know what size check did they write to make whatever injustice they think is out there go away. Is it just a bully pulpit for them to leverage a Copernic and or Kaepernick, sorry, and get us all to think a certain way? But are they just trying to get a woke point so that we all think that they're woke and their audience thinks they're great? And I get that brands have to engage the social dialogue. I'm not saying that companies should not and brands should not engage the social conversations of the day, but it's hard not to be cynical. And these big global corporations, I like to say put their money where their mouth is. Look at the real fruit. What are the fruit? Let's look at the balance sheet. Where did they put their money? What activities did they engage in that really made a difference? Like Gillette, what are they doing in their world? Don't browbeat me and tell me what I have to do. But I just shaved my head, for this. I just cleaned up a little bit before we sat down. I use products like theirs all the time. I don't need somebody telling me what to do, but I want to see them as a corporation. What are they doing to make the world a better place? If they're so passionate about it, they don't have to do anything. They can just make great money and call it a day. So that's my quick opinion on that. Let's see. How do you utilize time, says John King. Not sure where you're going with that. You mean just as far as time management? I just work my little rear end off and try to just be as productive as possible. I do have some systems. I love the book Getting Things Done. What was that guy's name? I forget the guy that wrote it, but look up Getting Things Done. Great system to get organized and to plow through the day. My video on the Eisenhower matrix, the important, unimportant, urgent, unurgent. I like to kind of prioritize a little bit that way and figure out what I should be working on. And then I've got client work, so a lot of it's deadline driven. What I wish I could do is create more content. I want to do videos all the time. Honestly, if I could do content creation full time, that's what I'd be doing because I just love it. Let's see, Pines with Zero. How do you mentally prepare for the plunge of starting your own business? Boy, that's such a great question. I guess I have questions around that because everybody's different, and I wonder, like, where is your mind as far as making that plunge? For me, people talk about entrepreneurs as being big risk takers. I don't find that to be true. They're willing to take risks, but there's always a calculated risk. So for me, what's at the root of the mental situation? Is it a fear of going out on your own? Is it a financial issue? Is it a fear of being rejected? Is it a fear of I'm not going to know how to drive revenue? I like to get at those things as opposed to mentally preparing. I want to know what causes my mental state. And then how do you get at those things? I tend to get anxiety when I'm not doing the things I need to be doing. If I'm not selling, if I'm not getting on client projects, etc., then I get some anxiety. So I'm always focused on what creates the mindset, not so much changing the mindset, but changing the things that create the mindset, which then leads to a better mindset. So maybe it's a matter of getting your finances in place. Maybe it's a matter of doing some trial runs of the business that you want to test out, see if there's a market. Maybe it's kind of running it on the side. There can be all kinds of ways to get at that so that you've got the right mindset. But we'd have to talk more for me to really get at that, to understand what you're trying to figure out. I love to go into this stuff more. And I'm rushing because I don't know how much battery life. If I knew I had some time, I'd just sit and chit chat, but I feel like I'm blowing through this like there's a clock ticking. So it's Sharon, he says it's bedtime in Africa, so I'm off to bed. Congrats on your first live stream. So proud of you. Thank you, Sharon. A little sleep well. Thanks for joining. Everybody's saying bye to Sharon as I was chatting away. Pines with Zero. CSR is becoming more a regulatory issue with obligatory CSR reporting in the EU. Yep. Noir Channel, exactly. Acts speak louder than words. I agree with you 100%, my friend. Funky makes the world go round, LOL. I wish I could read your name. I don't read Korean. Is that Korean? I think it's Korean. River Massey. So, let's see. Have integrity behind the advert. Yeah, kind of. Oh, Behind with Zero, by the way. David Allen. Yes, thank you so much. David Allen is the author of Getting Things Done. River Massey, have integrity? Yeah, I think so. But I think, integrity for me is keeping your word. If you promise something, keep your word. What is your brand promise? And I think you know this. I mean, River, you're in the branding world, so you get this. But what is your branding promise? What is the value that your brand brings to the table? If there are causes that align with your brand, I totally get it. And you look at a Colin Kaepernick, Kaepernick. He's an athlete. He's making a stand. He's making a statement. For Nike to support him, I don't really have a problem with that, because to me, it's like, hey, I see the alignment. I get it. And if the audience that Nike is speaking to, they align with that too, I'm okay with that. I just think that sometimes brands get too much on a bandwagon, and they're just trying to get cred points. And I think it hurts the brand, and I think it sometimes hurts the movement that they purport to be helping. But there's some nuance in there. So yeah. Let's see. Rich Pirates 1, do you have any book recommendations? Oh gosh, I read a lot. So it depends on the topic. What kind of books are you interested in? What kinds of stuff are you interested in reading? Because we could talk about that. I could give book recommendations based on topics, and of course my mind will go blank. You ask me for book recommendations. I have so many books, it's not funny. And I read paper books. I've had a Kindle. I've read, like, you're on an airplane, you read a little pot boiler just to pass the time. But I love reading a paper book. I love marking up the margins and dog-earing and underlining. To me, just physical book is just a beautiful, beautiful thing. Let's see. So, right now, for instance, I'm reading a book called Brand Wars. It's pretty good. Or is it Story Wars? I can't remember which. It's terrible. And I should have it here so I could just hold it up to the camera. Of course I can't. I'd have to run to the other side of the house to do that. Yeah, definitely check out Getting Things Done. A couple of folks, glad to see that. That's a great book as far as being productive. It's a system. I found as I owned a business, there were just so many open ends, so many projects, so many things that I owed people, so many things that I was responsible for or connected to. And then when I was young, I was pretty good at just keeping things in my mind. I used to use a Franklin planner. An employer I worked for, Honeywell, back in the day, was big on the Franklin planner system. But I just couldn't keep track of everything, and my office got crazy. And David Allen's approach was just a lifesaver. Now, I don't use the 43 folders approach that he purports. It's not that you shouldn't, but I really use some of his methodology on a day-to-day basis. And then I physically use a bullet journal. Either I've been using a paper one, and I've been experimenting with digital options, but I go with a bullet journal to kind of keep track of things. Thoughts on the WeWork situation? Is it a structural issue, the VC startup? The whole WeWork thing, I gotta say, I just think that, and it's similar to is it not Thanos? What's that other, the medical, the woman there that was doing it's like Thanon or Theramin or whatever. I keep thinking of it as Thanos. But you get these celebrity startup folks, these celebrity founders, celebrity CEOs. The media is just dying for a story. They're always wanting to look for someone that's figured out a way to do the impossible, an innovation that just defies market wisdom. I remember back when the internet was a new thing, and everyone's like, oh, it's the new economy. Everything's different. Give everything away for free. You'll be a millionaire. And at the end of the day, the new economy really was just advertising. Look at Google as making billions of dollars just off of advertising. That's just what it is. Yes, new pipes, new technologies, old model. Unfortunately, old model. And I look at WeWork. I look at I wish I could think of the names. Anybody got that name for me? I'm just skimming real quick. Hold on one second. So anyway, I'm a little skeptical. I think these things are based on people. I think the media pumps up a story. I think investors jump in. I don't think WeWork was necessarily flawed in its basic concept, but it never should have been as big as it was, and he should have never been investing into all kinds of crazy stuff. This guy is just using it for his personal folly, his own business folly. Let's see, Pions was 0, I think, asked. I just want to look for that. He says, do you subscribe to servant leadership? I do. I do subscribe to that concept. I guess the discussion really is, what does that look like? Yeah, I'm a Christian, so I do appreciate the way that Christ modeled leadership. I don't think necessarily, though, that servant leadership needs to be weak. I don't think that it always has to be humble. Sometimes you can serve people by truly leading. I don't think that servant leadership is always from the back of the room. Often it's leading by example. Often it's being willing to take the hit yourself. But sometimes it's making tough decisions that people are not happy with. It's not always about keeping everyone happy. You have to understand who and what you're serving and be willing to let the chips fall where they may. But I do subscribe to that concept in general. And I think the best leaders, they are willing to be out front. They exude charisma and confidence. They have a clear goal. They lead based on principles and deeper ideals that are based on truth and goodness and human flourishing in one way or another. And they're able to mobilize people around an idea, excite them, and lead them forward. But they lead by example, and they're willing to suffer with the team. They're willing to and to succeed with the team as well. So that's it for a quick one. Let's see. How did you meet your wife? Now the joke is, whenever someone asks me that, she was mail order because she's South African and I'm a New Yorker. The truth is, she was traveling in the U.S. She was traveling here. She was with a group called Youth for Christ, and she had graduated high school and was chaperoning a bunch of South African high schoolers to an event in Washington, D.C. She knew some people in the U.S., so she thought, after I do that, I'm going to travel the States a little bit, maybe go to Europe afterwards. And so she ended up in my city, and I met her through a group of friends. They actually set us up. They said, hey, after church, we're going to have some chili over at our apartment. A bunch of college buddies come on over. And I got there, and there's this really cute girl with freckles and hazel eyes and a cute accent. I thought, boy, I'm just fascinated. That would have been October, and we were married in May, not that long after. So that's how I met my wife. We could talk more about that at the 20K Q&A. We hit that 20K. Let's see. Thinking about buying This Is Marketing by Seth Godin. Any thoughts on that one? Yeah, so Yanni, fantastic question. I'm not, so a lot of marketing people love Seth Godin. Oh, Seth Godin, he's amazing. I've read a lot of his books. I've seen him speak in person. I've never met him. I've never hung out and had dinner with the guy. I like Seth Godin. I think he's a fantastic human being. That said, I've always found his stuff to be kind of rudimentary. I've never found that stuff to be that powerful. Now, the book This Is Marketing, I read it early last year, and I thought, let me sit and read this thing. It's chock full of goodness, and I discovered kind of the allure of Seth. Not all of his books are a slam dunk, but I think it's worth reading This Is Marketing, and here's why. Seth is very good at taking complex concepts and boiling them down to very simple ideas. And in the simplicity of his prose, the easy reading of his books, it's actually disarming. But if you spend some time and think about what he's really saying, he's often identifying kind of a deep, powerful concept. He's got some things in there that I use all the time in that book. So I would highly recommend reading it. I found, like, for me, it's a little like below, I'm not trying to say I'm so amazing, but like as a reader, as his target audience, I'm probably not his target audience. I'm more of a strategist and an executive level marketing person. I don't know that it's aimed at those people, but I bring that up to say I took away a lot from that book. I've actually bought it and given it to a couple clients thinking this would be really useful. So excellent book. Kudos to Seth Godin, and respect. I would check it out. I think it's worth the read, and you can knock it out in a few hours if you want to. But my copy, there's a handful of pages that are underlined. I got some good stuff out of that. All right, let's see what we got going here. I'm just curious about my battery life. I'm gonna check real quick. Let's see what we get here. Yeah, battery's looking okay. We'll just keep going. So, what else do we got? Theranos. Thank you, Noir Channel. I appreciate it. Theranos. That's the name of the company. I kept thinking of Thanos, which I knew was not right, but it was stuck in my little rat-like mind. Let's see what else. Yeah, River Massey, WeWork. I know, dude. So, WizVids, welcome. Love your videos. Any tips or advice for pricing strategies and advertisement targeted to teenagers, 15 to 17 years old? Ours, a startup product, is a subscription-based platform with math videos. All right, I guess thank you, first of all, for the kudos. I appreciate making the videos. I wish I could make a ton more, and I will. We're going to get this thing going, my friends. This content creation machine. The cloning process is almost complete. There should be 2 more of me helping. But so your question is, any tips or advice or pricing strategies and advertising targeted teenagers? I guess the tips or advice I can give is we're always kind of starting from ourselves. We're always trying to figure out, like, okay, what is it that I've created? What is it that I'm offering? Why is this so cool? Here's what I've figured out. Or, I say I figured it. It could be we as a team. The trick at this stage, I think, for where you're at, just based on the comment, is to be thinking about the target market. What problems are they trying to solve? You've got to get in their head. So when you talk about things like pricing strategies, when you talk about things like messaging in advertisements, subscription models, for me, I want to understand my target market as best I can. And not just have demographic data. I want demographic, I want psychographic data. I want to kind of do some ethnographic research. I want to get in the field and watch how they behave, the things that they do. What are the challenges that they're encountering? What resources do they have to work with? I'm looking at the competitive landscape. How are they solving those problems now? How are they gaining the things that they want now? And usually when you get that kind of context, when you've got all that kind of information together, it starts to become clearer how you can price something. Now, you're going to bring your marketing and your business strategy to the table. You're going to bring your needs to the table. That's fine. But you should be looking at the whole opportunity through the lens of your target market. And the more you can understand what they're trying to do, the easier it becomes to figure out a path forward with messaging. The easier it becomes to figure out where you should be doing the messaging. The easier it becomes to figure out how you should price. Now, I understand pricing can play into other aspects of your business, but from a branding, positioning, and marketing perspective, I'd like to think about it that way. You've got to bring into mind that your pricing is going to communicate things like quality, reliability, position in the market. So you don't always want to be the low-cost option. Sometimes if you're so low, people start thinking there's something wrong here. And so those are some things to consider. But that's just kind of a broad stroke how I would look at it. I'd start with your market, your customer, understand them as best you can. And then once you've got great context, once you really have unpacked them, those personas, those people, then I would start using that because you'll start to see what you should be doing. It'll start to materialize and become obvious for you. All right, let's see here. Does marketing transcend cultures? Does marketing transcend cultures? I think the answer is yes, and here's why I say that. Marketing at its core is really what I was just explaining. It's understanding the needs and desires of a market and then figuring out ways to solve those problems, communicate the opportunities to that market, position, price, etc. So at its core, marketing in Vietnam will look the same as marketing in the US, meaning you should go through the same disciplines to figure out what's going on in your market. Now, the interesting thing is the outside marketing, the advertising, the messaging, the vehicles, the distribution models, the pricing will look different in each country because the cultures will influence and inform what those messages should be. But a good marketer, you should be able to drop a good marketer anywhere, and they should ask the same questions, the right questions, no matter what culture, whether they're in the United Kingdom, Vietnam, India, New York City, or San Diego, California. You should be thinking about who is my target market, what pain do they have, and how can we understand them so that we can deliver products and services that meet and fulfill their needs. Now, each area is going to need local expertise to say, look, this is how our messaging tends to work. These are how people tend to get advertising. So I know in some cultures, they might be impoverished, but on the other hand, everybody has a smartphone. That may not be the same in an older culture like the US where they're wealthy, but not everybody's using a smartphone for the kinds of things like moving money around that an impoverished culture might be using a smartphone for. So that's where it's the execution that I think becomes culture and country specific. That's my take on it. Let's see. New York bagels or New York pizza? Oh, New York pizza, hands down. Now, I love a good bagel. Don't get me wrong, but I would fight a fight. I would walk a distance for New York pizza. Now, I've been trying to avoid pizza. I've been doing, I won't say keto, but I've been trying to avoid like all the starch, the sugar, etc. I've been trying to trim down a little bit. As I've realized that I am not an eternal being, and if I don't start taking care of myself, I'm not going to live for as long as I could. So, yeah, man, it's all about the pizza, though. I love New York pizza. We got a place in Rochester, New York. The guy moved from Brooklyn to Rochester, and he opened up. He's my age. He's a little older than me, actually, but he's running this Brooklyn-style pizzeria about 5 hours outside of New York City, 6 hours out of New York City. And it's my favorite. And he's my buddy. I walk in there and we talk for an hour. So New York pizza all the way. Love it. I love Chicago style pizza too, by the way. But man, New York style pizza, can't beat it. Completely agreed on Seth Godin. Thank you. Pines with Zero, is your top management experience crucial for your current success as a vendor? You know, I would say that my entrepreneurial experience, having run an agency and having worked with so many different kinds of clients, you know, not-for-profit, publicly traded corporations, privately owned companies, big and small, I think the experience in the agency world is really what allowed me to blossom into what I'm doing now. I've always had kind of the mindset that I have. I think I was just born to see the world through a certain lens. But the maturation and the deepening of my capabilities and perspective, really, I give to credit to having owned and run an agency, both being an entrepreneur and working with so many different clients, so many different challenges, being forced to say, how do we solve this problem? That had a huge impact on allowing me to become who and what I am today. So that's where the credit lies, in my opinion. It had nothing to do with my educational background, although I'm grateful for the education that I got, but it's just the experiences that I was able to have through my agency. And I think if I'd worked in-house, like let's say I stayed at Honeywell and as a marketing exec for Honeywell, I just think I would not have grown the way that I grew being out there in the world dealing with so many different client challenges and projects. Now the downside of working in an agency, I own mine, so it's different, but you know, you're gonna not make as much. Your benefits are not going to be as good as if you work for a Honeywell. So you are giving up some security, but the dynamism in that world can be fantastic and can really help you grow. Let's see. ZZYZX98 says, can you tell us a little more about your background? Can you tell us a little bit more about your background? You know, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to go deep into it right now. We'll do a live stream. We'll kind of go into that. But as far as my background, you know, I'm happy to share. I mean, I studied graphic design and communication in college, dropped out of college, got married, thought I'll go back and finish up. Never finished my college degree and just kind of dove in. By the time I was like ready to go back to college, I was like, I've transcended. I've transcended college. Look, all three of my kids have gone to college. I'm not anti-college, but just for me, I realized at a certain point, like I really don't need it. If anybody's looking for a degree on a piece of paper, obviously that's fine and they can do that. But my experience kind of went beyond what I was going to get if I got a bachelor's degree. I got into sales and marketing. I've just been in sales and marketing my whole life. I've always been fascinated by technology, things like desktop publishing, etc. And so I self-taught a lot of that, the technology and the publishing side, worked in design, worked in sales, worked in marketing, and you know, entrepreneurial. And fast forward into my early 30s, acquired this business. I had a startup, actually lived in South Africa. My wife and I had a startup there with a bunch of investors. That failed, I crashed that. That was a really tough experience, but a good learning opportunity. And then acquired this business that I ran for 15 plus years. And here I am today now as a independent strategic consultant. That's a little bit of my background. We could talk more about some other time, but that's it. All right, Maya Gastin. Oh, Maya, she retracted. I just was going to go in there and answer your question, but now it's gone. I was just getting to you, Maya. Oh well. James Deal, great job, Mike. James, is this the James Deal that I knew as a child? If this is the James Deal I knew as a child, I haven't seen you in probably, I don't know, 40 years or more. So thank you. I'm glad to have you. And if you're not the same James Deal, I'm thrilled that you're here. But wow, that's a name from the past. So James, I hope you're doing great and that life is treating you well. Yeah, it's just good to see you. I don't even know where you're living right now. Like, I know you're not in Rochester. Good for you. Pines with Zero, is there a meaningful way to translate marketing know-how into a B2B landscape? Yes, there is. I'm not sure where you're going with that question. Is there a meaningful way to translate marketing know-how into a B2B landscape? Could you be more specific? Like what kind of challenge are you thinking about? Is it how do you apply marketing to B2B revenue generation or customer acquisition? I'm not sure where you're going with that. The answer is yes, but I need more information to be specific. Excellent advice, thank you. WizVids, I'm glad you asked. NWA Saba, hello, branding guy. Well, hello, NWA Saba, thanks for joining us. Yanni Volterbiek, there's 2 New York pizzas in the 2 small towns around me. While it's a rural area, so I am spoiled. Yanni, what country are you living in? Are you in Holland? Are you in the U.S.? Where are you based? I'm just curious. And then my Korean buddy here, a buddy got me onto keto for 2 weeks ago, and that New York pizza would make me emotional right now. You and me both. Man, if I could have... Now, see, yesterday was my birthday, and I thought, and my wife's traveling, and we, as ahead of time, family's more important. She needed to be there for her family. So I'm like, look, we've had many, many years together for my birthday. We'll have many more, God willing. You go. So I've been on my own. My son and I had lunch, but kind of on my own for my birthday, which was cool. But I thought, you know what? I've been so good since Christmas. Maybe I'm going to blow out. Maybe I'll go get pizza, maybe have some donuts, etc. And then I thought, man, I've worked so hard to not eat that kind of food. I just don't want to do it. So I did not go crazy. But I wanted yesterday, I wanted donuts, I wanted pizza, I wanted a milkshake, I wanted a big greasy burger. Like, I was ready to go nuts. Fortunately, I didn't do that, so I didn't set myself back. But and you always pay afterwards. You know, I don't know about you, but I'm like, it's like being an alcoholic. As soon as I have that first slice of pizza, I fall off the wagon. Then it's 3 months of eating terribly before I can get it under control again. All right, let's see what else we got here. A buddy, let's see, ZZY ZX98. What do you think about Elon Musk? Not Tesla, but the guy himself. I think Elon is a very, very, very impressive individual. I have a lot of respect for him. He's interesting because people seem to either love him or hate him. You know, people that don't care about business don't have an opinion. But if you're involved in branding, if you're involved in technology, if you're involved in free markets, capitalism, investing, people either love Elon or they hate him. He's either a hero or a villain to people. And I find that very interesting. What is it about Elon that makes him such a lightning rod? And you know, do I think that Elon is beyond fault or that he should be trusted without any question? No, absolutely not. You know, when he came out and talked about, oh, we need to be worried about AI. And I was like, I'm so glad that he's saying this, that he's fearful. But, you know, the other side of that coin is he's selling this Neuralink, you know, so he wants on some level to have us be concerned about AI. And his answer to that isn't that we need to regulate and control it, but the only way that human beings can compete is if we augment ourselves. And so, by the way, guess what? I've got this Neuralink that you can buy and have jacked into your cranium. I don't know how I feel about transhumanism, right? So, do I think Elon's evil because of that? No, but I'm just saying with anybody, with me, with anybody, you've got to kind of do your own homework and look to make sure their interests are aligned with your interests, et cetera, and they have your best interests in hand. I think Elon's fantastic, and I have a lot of respect for him, and I love what he's doing. What I love about Elon, I'll wrap up this piece of it, I love that he's willing to just put himself out there and try daring, exciting things. He's got this attitude of like, why not? Why can't we fire a rocket up into space and then have it come back and land down with booster rockets as opposed to a capsule with the parachute? Why not put the Cybertruck out there? You know, why not bore great tunnels through cities so that we can have these hyperspeed rail lines underground? Why not? Why not create a flamethrower and put it out there? So he gets himself in trouble because of the why not attitude, but I'm grateful that he has it. I'm grateful that he's willing to put himself out there, and he's been very successful. Also a guy with a South African background. So I would love to meet Elon, and I'm impressed and respect what he's doing. But like anybody, he has to be managed, regulated, and we have to be a little cynical because, you know, he hasn't ascended to the heavens and sits at the right hand of the Father. He can't necessarily be trusted like none of us can. You know, he's got his own interests, and so it's kind of like a buyer beware. But yeah, kudos to Elon. That was a long answer. Okay, in what way can you consult us, sir? NWA Saba, what way can you consult us? Branding, marketing strategy, anything that's, you know, innovation, business design, that's kind of my jam. So that's what I do. The Netherlands, Yanni, you're in the Netherlands. I figured you might be in the Netherlands. My wife and I were in Amsterdam a couple years ago. Lovely, lovely city. Got to spend some time there. Ian Latart, happy birthday. Thank you, my friend. I thank you very much. It was it was a different birthday. It was a very nice day yesterday, kind of laid back. And my wife succeeded in surprising me. She hid a bunch of gifts in the house, and then we had a WhatsApp call, and she's like, hey, go upstairs, find this thing, open a lid, and there's all these like gifts. And then so we sat and I got to open gifts with her on the phone. It's just very thoughtful. I felt very cared for. The little things in life as you get older are what matter. It's just the thought that counts, and very nice. Yeah, Noir Channel. Yeah, my birthday yesterday. All right, so Pines with Zero. I did B2B sales for 10 years, and it was based around relationships. The huge volume of information gathered from consumer markets through B2C marketing seems to be disconnected. Okay, thank you. So for me, what I like about marketing for B2B, I would agree with you. I think relationships are important. But I think what marketing can do, it's like, well, how do you get those relationships? How do those relationships open up? And I think with things like content strategy, you can be positioning yourself and your business as content experts. You can be providing content, research, material, etc. as people go through their decision-making process. Whether you're a consumer buyer or a B2B business buyer, you still have a decision-making process that you have to go through. You have to figure out your options. You have to figure out, what's going to work better, what's not going to work, what are my issues, and so you go through research, etc. And my point being, a good marketing team will understand your customer's decision-making process, and then will craft marketing funnels and marketing stages and steps, assets and campaigns to that funnel so that you can nurture leads. The sales reps shouldn't have to get out there and just find their own leads. It's great if they do. Great salespeople can go out and find the leads and make it happen. But wouldn't it be great if the marketing team was busy telling the company's story, that kind of big end of the funnel, pulling people in, and then nurturing them to the point where they're really ready to engage and start building that relationship. Good marketing opens the relationship earlier than a salesperson can and nurtures that relationship until it's ready to go into more of a sales process. And that sales process ideally would be consultative. It's not, let me sell you what I got, but let me come in here and help you solve your problem. We'll help craft a solution. If we can't solve for you, then I'm going to help you get in with somebody that's going to help you better than I can, and then hopefully down the road we can do better business, because it's all about caring for you, solving your problems, and making your life better. That's my opinion in a nutshell. All right, Yanni, Elon's Twitter is his prime marketing tool, as is Donald Trump's, by the way. 31 million followers. Now there's a conversational capital. Now I agree 100%, 100%. Pines with Zero, related question, what sort of music do you like? Oh my gosh. So I have pretty broad taste musically. I like power pop. I like prog rock. I mean, going back a little bit. I love a lot of electronica. I love hip hop, like all those kinds of genres. I even got into some like strange Russian alternative music for a while there. Like I like alternative college radio, etc. Lately, when I work, a lot of my work is thinking work, and as I've gotten older, I've found I have to have music with no lyrics. I have to have music that's a little bit more backgroundy. So I'm often kind of listening during the day to Spotify, and I'm just listening to music that's more electronica. It's more focused kind of stuff. I like some classical as well. But I'm listening to a lot of stuff that doesn't have a lot of attitude. It's more atmospheric. It's more kind of background music. And I like stuff that's got some creativity to it, but I'm all over the place music. I'm not big on country. I've got nothing against it. I just don't really love country. Used to love blues a lot. I still like classic rock, although I don't go there by choice. But when it comes on, I love to crank it. But that's kind of my musical background. I'm gonna check battery real quick. See how we're doing here. What do we got? Oh man, that battery's going. So I think the battery is going to last longer than this interview. We've been going for like just over an hour now. We'll go a little bit longer before we wrap it up. I've got some company coming over at 4 p.m., which means I should probably get ready for them in a little bit. Let's take some more questions. Guys, first of all, thank you so much. This is like the most fun I could have with YouTube. I just love this, and I would love to keep doing it on a regular basis. So let me know in the comments if this is something you want to do. Not that we have to like lock in, like, hey, it's every day at this time, but I'd be thrilled to do these streaming sessions on a regular basis. Just kind of fun, and so let me know what you guys think. All right, let's see here. Let me just catch up. John King, could you make a list of 10 books for a start? 10 books for a start. Yeah, I guess it depends what world you want to live in, right? But for me, like just some basic books, 10 books for a start. So I don't know if I'll hit 10, but one would be, I really love The E-Myth Revisited, that's by Michael Gerber. That's really great if you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to grow like a small business. I think that's excellent. I do think that Seth Godin's book, the marketing book that we were talking about a minute ago, dudes, I'm like kind of spaced a little bit mentally. I think that's a good book. The David Allen book was, Getting Things Done was instrumental. I read a lot of I read a lot of intellectual history. Funny enough, like I get into things like the history of ideas. So another one that I would highly recommend. I don't necessarily agree with his theological view of the world. He's a Gnostic, and I'm, as I said, a Christian. But I think that he's identified something that's true. I draw a different conclusion. I would read Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces. If you're interested in branding and the power of story and narrative, Joseph Campbell's work, it came out in 1949, but The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And what essentially Joseph Campbell does is he identifies this thing that we call the hero's journey. He realizes that all throughout every culture, all throughout the ages, that mankind has a certain kind of pattern or structure to our stories, the narratives that we tell. And this goes way back into early records of human stories and histories, all the way up into the present. And he identifies this kind of hero and this journey that the hero goes through. And he talks about, he's like, the story of Christ is the same, the story of the Buddha is the same, like they're all the same. So his kind of takeaway is that this must be a human construction. Now for me, and we don't have to get into this, but for me, I say, well, look, from a Christian perspective, God put this echo in our heart, and this is mankind kind of reaching out for this hero that we're all hungry for. We believe that it's Christ, but obviously other religions and faiths believe otherwise. And then a lot of people don't believe in the transcendent at all. That's not what this channel's about, although we can get into that sometime. That'll be like a 2 a.m. kind of feed that we'll do. But if you read The Hero with a Thousand Faces, I guarantee you're going to be inspired by the power story. And it might inspire you, maybe some of your marketing work that you want to do, messaging you want to put together, storytelling. It's just fantastic. So there's a good book for you. There's a bunch of other books. I mean, I will spend some time next time. I'm really into innovation and some of the processes around design thinking. I think is really good. There's some good books out there on that, but there's a few just off the top of my head. Again, I think it depends on the topic. If we're talking entrepreneurship, that's one thing. If we're talking marketing, that's another. Branding, that's another. And metaphysics, philosophy, and theology, well, I got a whole list there too, as you can tell. All right, let's see what else we got. Where am I? Good marketing team will, to the extent of my knowledge, know when to take credit for a deal. Well, no, not. That's right. They'll take credit, but you have to make your own leads. And that's my point. I think a really good marketing team will deliver you those leads. They will do the nurturing work and say, hey, Pions with 0. This one's ready. There's a buying trigger. And I think it takes sophistication. I think it takes discipline. And a lot of marketing people, I love marketing, but a lot of marketing people don't bring that kind of depth to the table, surprisingly, unfortunately. Noir channel, you're making a comment to somebody else. Oh no, Aswath Damodaran made a video on the types of leaders and the different stages in the lifetime of a company. He says that Musk's personality would match a sort of teenage company. Wouldn't you agree that he may do more harm than good when Tesla matures? I think that's a good question. The question is, could Musk mature with Tesla? I think, he's already caused some trouble. As a publicly traded company, like there's certain things you can and can't say, and he's caused some trouble for himself and for the company. Self-control is definitely a sign of maturity, and I think that Elon is maturing. But I guess the question is, yes, I think it could be an issue. I just don't know, how do you replace Elon? It's like Steve Jobs. How do you replace Steve Jobs? He was just so intrinsic and important to the company and what Apple was at the time. And I think the same for Elon. Does it get to a point where you get rid of him? Apple tried getting rid of Steve Jobs, and the company did terribly, and they brought him back in. So I'd love to see Elon become more sophisticated and mature. Look at me like I'm anything. Elon is beyond me by multiples, but just as an observer, I think there's an opportunity for him to become a little bit more sophisticated and mature in the way that he is publicly depicting himself and things he says. You could say the same for the president. Like, I like some of the things that Trump is doing, but sometimes he shoots himself in the foot. Like, just let it go, bro. Like, you don't have to tweet about everybody and everything all the time. Just sometimes let it sit like you're winning. Just let it go. But again, there's some maturity and sophistication. Wouldn't be a bad thing. To the point where A.G. Barr came out the other day and said, yeah, I really wish the president, this is his own attorney general, comes out and says, I really wish the president would knock it off. So that tells you something. But does that mean he's not doing a good job? If you listen to the news, I guess he's horrible. But as a citizen, I think there's some good things happening. All right, let's keep going here. Agree on the music. I love electronica, down tempo. We should exchange artist names. We absolutely should. Yanni, I think we've got each other on Twitter, maybe even LinkedIn. Just hit me there and we'll chat. Or leave some comments down below. This thing, I think you can leave comments on live streams. It'll publish live when this is done. Everyone will be able to see it. I think I missed one. It was, what do we got here? John King, 10 books that Mike thinks everyone should, from philosophy to marketing and entrepreneurship. I'm going to have to circle back around. I'm going to make a list. In fact, I might publish, that might be a good blog post I could publish on my website and then maybe do a little video on it. I could be like, who's that kid? Oh shoot, the kid with the knowledge here in my garage, and here are all the books I read and the Lamborghinis, and the books all help me get the, I can't believe I can't think of his name. It'll come to me just now. He's famous. He's a meme. I can't believe I'm not thinking of him. Let's see. Would you do some tutorials? Oops, it just moved. Would you do some tutorials on video recording and lighting gears and software tools? I've thought about that. That's not what my channel's all about, but I might do something like that. Just kind of say, here's my setup and here's what I do. I think that might be interesting just to help people out. I'll tell you, it took me forever. I put a lot of time into doing this live stream, just getting the technology figured out. And I thought somebody needs to put together a tutorial. But the thing is, there are tutorials out there, but everyone's gear is different. And so you got to do it differently. So yeah, but I'll share something on that sometime. Let's see here. Ian Letarte, really enjoyable background music artist. I don't know how to pronounce that. Lucinate. Okay. Check out Big Noise. I will. I'll make a note to check out Big Noise by Lucinate. Thank you. I'll write up my little book here. Yanni says, yes, more of this, please. Good time, too, 9 p.m. in the Netherlands. I tried to find a time. Pians with Zero was hitting me on this, but I tried to find a time that would work for my European friends. And I thought this, on a Sunday, this should work. We won't always be able to overlap, but I'll do my best to make it work for you guys. Also, thumbs up on the live stream. Thank you. Maya, what type of equipment do you use for your videos? All right, Maya, here's what I got going. And you can see it. You can come to the house and check it out. So my camera is a Canon 80D. So I've got a Canon DSLR. Kind of facing me here, I've got this big softbox light to give me some light. This microphone is Shure is the brand. It's called a SM7B. That runs into a soundboard. I'd be happy to show you all this stuff, but I'm essentially running a Canon 80D. I'm running a Shure SM7B mic. I've got a nice light. I've got a little light behind me. The light behind me really is just a contractor's light. Like I just kind of put that thing on the floor shining up on the wall, and I've got a little soundboard to drive some of the audio. But that's the equipment. I'd be happy to show you what I got. It's not cheap. I kind of acquired it over time, but it's not outrageous. It's not outrageous. It's not like $1 million, but it costs a few dollars to assemble. Oh, and the lens I'm using right now is like a 24mm lens for close-up. I've got 2 or 3 different lenses that I swap out, but this one I use usually for kind of close-up. So that's what I got going on over here. What do we got for time? So I'll do another 15 minutes or so. Gosh, guys, I don't even want to stop. This is so much fun. I'm having a blast with this. Eddie, how you doing, man? Did you have any self-doubt in your abilities after not going back to college? It would be interesting to hear about overcoming problems in your life and finding solutions. Man, what an insightful question, Eddie. And we should go into that sometime. I did have some self-doubt, and what I mean by that is, it's funny, like I've always been confident in myself, always. Like I've always just thought, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. So I didn't have self-doubt in my abilities. What I found frustrating is I kept feeling like, and I don't know if this was my perception or the way the world was treating me, I kept feeling like 2 things. First of all, well, I don't really deserve to be here because I didn't get the credential. I just had this kind of almost imposter syndrome for a better part of my younger life. I just felt like, well, because I didn't get the degree, now I'm less than the guy next to me who's got a bachelor's degree. And the other thing is I felt like, well, I'm going to be passed over. I'm not going to be viewed or judged fairly because I don't have the degree. So I had insecurity around the lack of credential, but I never for a moment doubted myself for being capable. In fact, I was kind of proud of the fact, like all my buddies from college when we were younger, I was proud of the fact like I was making way more than them at a young age. I just knew how to bring some game to the table. And so I had a buddy with like a graduate degree who, was barely making more than minimum wage working in his field, whereas I dropped out and was making tens of thousands more a year as a young guy. So I never doubted myself or my capabilities, and I still to this day haven't. Now, I did get to a point where I kind of had a bit of an epiphany. I kind of came to terms with who I am and what I bring to the table. And I don't know if that's a part of just normal maturation or if I just had an aha moment. I don't know what it was, but I got to the point where I'm like, look, I really don't care what other people think about me. And the work that I do is all about what can I deliver? What can I deliver? What value can I create for my clients? And if you need me to have a credential on my resume at 53 years old to have the right to create wealth for you, then maybe we're not the right people to work together. And but if you want me to take my decades and decades of experience and expertise and the wisdom that I bring to the table, just the way I'm built, doesn't sound very humble, does it? And help you drive revenue, create wealth, and scale your business. If you want me to do that, then I'm happy to work with you, and we'll make some good money together and move the ball forward. So yeah, I struggle with that, but I never struggled with my ability. I always knew I could do it. I just felt like it was hard to get a place at the table. And I guess for me, that drove me to work harder. It just drove me to work harder, to prove to people that I can do it. And that's a good thing. Maybe I needed that. Maybe if I had the degree, I'd kind of rest on my laurels, or I just assume that I'd slot into the kind of structure of the way the working world works and grind it out in some corporation. But that's not what was for me, and I'm so grateful. I would not change my path in any way looking back. I just am very grateful for my life, and I love it. I love the work that I'm doing, and I'm humbled by it. Thank you for that question. Let's see here. Ty Lopez. It's Ty Lopez, right? That's the guy I'm thinking of, the knowledge guy. I don't know if somebody did somebody find it just occurred to me. Yes, Yanni says it. Ty Lopez. That's right. Knowledge. Love that. All right. Thumbs up in the live stream. Thank you. That was Eddie. Pines with Zero. I've incorporated live streams into your brand promise now, so you're basically required to have these from time to time. All right, man. I think you're right. I think it has to be part of my brand promise, because for me, I want to put great videos out, and there's some things I want to do creatively and artistically that go beyond just the basic video. But on the other hand, I really want to have a community. I mean it when I say it. Like I always say at the end of the video, hey, I love you guys. I do love engaging with you, and I do want you guys to succeed and thrive. Not that I'm some great master of success, but I want to give what I have. I want to interact with you. I want to have questions and answers and have a community. So I think live streams are absolutely part of that brand. So I'm with you on that, bro. Let's see, Yanni. I grew up Christian, was baptized. Now I'm agnostic. Most of my friends are atheists. But I think there are godlike things to be discovered by science one day. There's more out there, in my honest opinion. I believe you're right. There is more out there. And what's interesting to me, the whole religion thing, we kind of get into this materialist mindset that science will discover more about God. And I think we can, but the one kind of philosophical flaw, not that you're flawed in your thinking, not everything has to be material. There can be a non-material world, a world that science can't measure, and that's the transcendent. That's what metaphysics gets into. Both the Judaism and Christianity, I don't know about Islam, but those two religions teach, I would imagine Islam as well, that God existed before the material universe existed, that he created it out of nothing. He spoke it into existence somehow. And so for science to discover God is almost impossible. It can discover God's fingerprint in the universe. It can discover God's the echoes of God's voice or his wisdom, etc. But to discover God may be impossible in the material world because he is non-material, except in his manifestation as Christ. So you guys will be like, I did not sign up for a religious. It is Sunday. It's Sunday, okay? But yeah, I agree with you, Yanni. I think there's more out there, and Ty Lopez is definitely the guy. That's just great. NWA Saba, indie game industry is a very crowded section, and I'd like to know how to survive in there. Technically, I can do anything in development, but after 14 months, I haven't moved much. Yeah, that's an interesting world. I remember seeing a documentary on the guy named Fish. I forget the name of the game. It was an indie game that he brought out, and it seemed cutthroat. I guess just shooting from the hip. The one thing for me, NWA Saba, I guess the question is, how good are you at building a fan base, an audience? Because I think indie games have something really special and unique to offer, but they can't market in the way that a giant gaming company, EA Sports, etc., can market. You've got to find your tribe. I think you've got to find your tribe that are willing to pay you for anything that you put out there. People that are just, they believe in you, they love what you're doing, they're fascinated by the craft, they're fascinated by your narrative, your story, they're fascinated by you and the work, your project. You really got to build an audience. Now, you've got platforms, you've got YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and Twitch, etc. But I think there's, if I'm in your shoes, I'm trying to figure out, how do I build my tribe? How do I build my audience, my community? And then they'll be with you on the journey. They'll tell you what they want from the game. You can give them sneak peeks and let them play with it a little bit and create excitement around it. It's kind of like when a movie comes out. You know, you've got your diehard fans that are just in there. They want to know everything they can. If you can find a way to build that, I think that's how you're going to make a great living. And yeah, you can make a living as an independent, or you could build a business around it. But you've got to find a way to find that tribe, connect with them, tell your story even before the game's available, and let them come on along with you on the journey. And I think that's where the opportunity then later to monetize and say, look, this thing is ready. Now that's how you're going to grow, like a Kickstarter, Indiegogo. You can't just put a video out and hope that someone's going to find it. The more you can build that audience and tribe, the better success you're going to experience, the more success you can experience down the road. Gosh, I love this stuff. It's great questions. Let's see. Toasted Tarantula. This is my first live stream participation. Well, welcome, Toasted Tarantula. It's mine too, actually. First time I've done one. And I've been very impressed with the mix of information and personal perspective and a sense of community. Thank you, man. That just means a lot to me. I'm glad you're here. I'm really grateful for it. Pines with Zero. Do you consider the option of your clients stumbling upon your YouTube content? If yes, does it change what you publish? I totally know that they see it. So for instance, just being open about my college background, I don't sit down with a client that owns a $100 million company and just say, in CEO, and say, hey, just so you know, this is my background. I don't do that. And so yeah, there's a risk. I mean, the risk is someone might watch this and go, oh, I just assumed. And maybe they think of me differently. So I think about it. But on the other hand, I feel like I'm old enough in life where it's like, the people I work with are such great people, and I think that they hire me not because of a credential, but because of the value that I can create for them. Now, I don't want to do something that undermines my ability to do good work for them. I don't want to create a lack of confidence in any way. But no, I just feel like, obviously I want to be a mature adult. Like I open up my videos with, it's your boy Mike. I'm not sitting with my clients going, it's your boy Mike, okay? I don't come in all swagga hip hop, like talking about KRS-One or the latest, drop by Ludacris. Although I don't listen to Ludacris, but anyway. But I have a little fun, and I think my clients know. He's just having a little bit of fun. He's enjoying his audience and having a good time. But I want to be candid. You know, one of the things that I don't do, and I thought about it before, are these either blog posts or video posts about earnings. You know, I made this much from consulting. I made this much. I don't do that. I just feel like, often I'm working with an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. I'm not allowed to talk about the work I'm doing or the clients that I'm working with. And I don't want people going, oh my gosh, either he makes a lot or he doesn't make enough or whatever. I feel like it's nice to help the audience to say this is what I make. And if it were YouTube, I would just say, here's my YouTube revenue. That's fine. I don't mind sharing that. But like, there's some things I want to keep private just to protect the interests of my clients and to ensure that they understand that my relationship with them is of utmost importance. That said, I don't be candid. I want to be candid here. And if that affects me in the real world, so be it. I'm confident in my ability to find people that are willing to do good work with me, regardless. Thank you for the question. Yanni says, I really enjoy your critical thinking, even being critical about icons such as Elon, Seth Godin. It's very refreshing. Thanks, Yanni. And Transcendent, I think of subatomic energy, particle entanglement, but I am a science nerd but I would love to talk about religion, Christ, etc. Well, maybe we'll do a philosophy or religion one of these. I like integrating who I am into my videos. I mean, I'm not going to hide who I am, but I also don't want to hit anybody over the head. And I'm fine. Like, you can watch this channel and this content no matter who you are. You are welcome. Like I've said, even trolls are welcome. I don't mind horsing around with trolls, but I'm going to be who I am. But I'm not here to hit anybody over the head. I'm open book, and this is my life and who I am, and hopefully that's palatable. But it's not going to be palatable for everybody, and that's cool. There are other channels that folks can watch that kind of fit their views and feelings. But I hope that people feel comfortable here. I don't want you watching and feeling like, well, I don't believe the same as Mike, so I'm out. I hope that you'd stick around and just let's have a good conversation community. Okay, let's see. Will the live vids be saved on YouTube? Yes, they will, Yanni. They'll go live. And Pines with Zero, maybe it's from another time, but how do you advise small companies on strategy? I imagine they have a lot of very pressing issues at hand which they need to solve ASAP. Yeah, we're running out of time, but I will just say quickly, the one thing I tell, especially smaller clients on strategy, and I say it to everybody, strategy is all about what you're going to say no to. You know, there's this misnomer that like, well, I'm a $3 million business, and usually my smallest clients are around 10 million. Like, I do work with clients smaller, but typically 10 million is like the smallest client. But even at 10 million, you don't have a lot to work with for marketing. You don't have a ton of money. And you go, oh, it must be great to be Nestle. You know, they got a ton of money. But Nestle has to be careful too. They have budgets. They're just bigger. And so I try to tell them strategy is all about what you're going to choose not to do. Because the more disciplined you are about saying no, because there's all these options, the more freedom you're going to have with that one thing that you're going to say yes. You've got limited resources. Let's think about the one thing we're going to do, and then let's force that thing to deliver. You know, let's not choose a thing that doesn't deliver on our overall strategy, our business strategy, our marketing goals. So if it's all about growing revenue this year, let's focus on the 1 or 2 things or 3 things that actually drive revenue. Don't tell me about social media engagement. And we need to be on all these different platforms and drop a ton of money to be active there if we can't tie it to the revenue goal. So often it's about saying, what are we willing to say no to? And it hurts. It hurts to cut, but that discipline then allows the company to drive revenue, grow, and eventually take on other things that it wants to down the road. So that's my philosophical position on that, and that's what I do often with smaller clients and larger ones too. Okay, NWA, I'll remember the idea of tribe. It seems to be the key point. You got it, man. Noir Channel. Oh, you're talking to James. Let's see, Noir. When it's over, it's not possible to comment anymore. Oh, I see. So it'll publish live though, which I would imagine you can then comment. It'll publish as a video. I think you can leave comments after. I don't know. Haha, sup, sir? It's your boy Mike. That's right, man. It's your boy Mike. Let's see, James, smiley face, Paul Weinberger, Weinberger, Pauline. Oh, Pauline, hey, how you doing? I remember you from the comments. Thanks for jumping in. I mostly appreciate your authentic personality. My question is, do you work just in North America, or do you travel abroad for work ever? I do travel a little bit. I do a little bit of traveling for work, so I do work mainly in North America. But you know, my wife and I are in a position, we love to travel. We're an international marriage to begin with, so we're traveling. We love Europe and other places, so we're very open to travel. And I do have some client work that takes me out of the U.S. from time to time. So it's kind of great to have that flexibility. I like those kinds of challenges. They're not as often as the U.S. work, but I'm always excited when those things pop up. So if you know of something, let me know, because I'd love to hear about it. But great question, thank you. And then lastly, Yanni Walvick, feel very comfortable. There's no dogmatism, etc. Thank you, Yanni. Yeah, I mean, that's just my point. I am who I am. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But on the other hand, I want to make room for other people. I'm not going to like give platform to people to be nasty or ugly about things. But on the other hand, you know, there's something to be said for being gracious to one another and not taking ourselves so seriously that we can't just have a chuckle at different things. So that's important. Thank you, Pauline. I know you've watched all the videos since, I didn't know, but I've seen you in the comments. We've had a chat here and there. I've been very grateful. You know, the cool thing about you, Pauline, here's the thing. When the channel got to a certain size, YouTube started giving me demographic data. It didn't give it to me before. And one of the things that I learned about my channel is that 97.5% of my channel is male. 97.5%. And I think that like 2.5% others are my mom, my wife, my sister-in-law, as you saw in the comments here. But all joking aside, I was stunned by the size of the male audience, and mainly 18 to 44. I mean, there's some folks a little older my age. So I'm always grateful when we have a woman in the comments. Now, I can't always tell based on the name. People don't always use their own name. Like, you know, you're using Pauline, I use Mike Gastin. Some people have like pi ends with 0. I don't know. I'm guessing he's a guy. Could not be. I don't know. But the point being, I'm grateful that you're here, and I'm grateful that you take the time to comment. I just think it's nice to have other perspectives and stuff in the channel. It is kind of cool for me, though, to know that, you know, there's a ton of guys here, and my heart is really to help guys. You know, as a young guy, I always wished that I had a mentor, someone to help me guide the way, so I didn't have to knock my head against the wall so much. But it's pretty cool. So, Pauline, thank you. You're very welcome to be here, and I'm grateful that you commented and took the time. All right, let's see, Yanni, when you're in the Netherlands, we should have a coffee. Oh, my friend, absolutely. I would love to. I'd love to do some meetups. As I travel, it'd be great to do some meetups. I don't know if the channel's big enough yet, but maybe I should let people know when I'm traveling a little bit and see if we can't do a little bit of a coffee or a bourbon or a scotch or something, and just get together with a group of folks and chit chat. It'd just be fun. It'd be really fun to do that. And yeah, so I am statistically probable. I figured that you were, my friend, but you know, I don't want to just be dogmatic and assume. Yanni, coffee. I have a 2016 MB Pro with the terrible keyboard. No, I knew what you meant. We're good, guys. I apologize, but this is about all I have the time for. I need to button up because I thought the battery would die before my motor mouth would die. But thank you, and here's what I'm thanking you for. First of all, I've been wanting to do this stream for a while. Thank you guys for participating and making it an amazing experience. I mean, honestly, I thought I might get on here and there might be like 2 people and it just we're chatting and I don't even know what to talk about. But I thought I'm going to do this. I'm going to jump in. And, you know, at some point we had, you know, mid-high 20s participating. The comments have been fantastic. Questions have been fantastic. I've been talking like a mile a minute. Hopefully I'm not speaking too quickly. And I think when I've got a continuous power supply and maybe a little bit more time in the back of my mind, I feel a little more at ease. I'll slow down. But thank you. This has just been so much fun, and I'm really grateful. I'm just kind of, Yanni's scotch is even better. P.S. I'll second Yanni's offer if you're in the Czech Republic. See, this is the thing. We're going to do this. I don't know how quickly, but this is going to happen. I've got to grow this channel. I've got to get this channel large enough that I can devote more time to it, and the only way I'm going to do that is by putting content out there. So that's on me. That's not on you. You guys are doing your part, absolutely. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful, and I want to meet face to face. I think it would be so much fun, and I get so much from this. Like, I'm learning as we talk. Hey George, you just came in now, buddy. I'm just about to sign off in a second here, but I'm glad you're here. Keep an eye out next time. Hit that notification bell, I guess, so you get a heads up. Mohammed, how you doing, my friend? It's amazing to see you doing a live stream. Yeah, thanks for joining. We've had some comments back and forth. Thank you, NW. I appreciate that you were here. Yanni, love to connect. Hit Yanni up. There's his Twitter. Good man on Twitter there. We're already connected. That's right. All the best from Austria. Thank you, George. I appreciate it. Guys, I'm going to wrap things up. As I always say, I love you all. I've enjoyed this, and I'm indebted to you. Very humbling experience today. This has just made my weekend. And I'm grateful for the time. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, be good.